Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last episode in the introduction part. The idea of data-driven is like the idea of having a good diet or exercising more. These ideas are so right that people never get it right. I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide of how to use the idea of data-driven in your normal business life. No matter which department you are in, no matter what position you are now at, you can use the idea of data-driven and actually implement it from 0 to 1. So some words about myself. My name is Xiaolu. I'm a data expert in the field of decision making. I'm going to transform your company into a data-driven company so that you can make better business decisions. So the first question I'm going to figure it out with you today is how data-driven is your current company? This question is like how healthy you are or how fit you are. It's hard to quantify. So I find a good resource. The link is here. It's a self-assess formula. So there are 4 stages of how data-driven a company is. Basically, this is the maturity of the data and how people use the data. In the first phase is data apathetic. Your business decisions are rarely, if ever, driven by data. So a typical example is that if you want to start a data project or a data initiative, your supervisor will ask you why. Right? Why do we have to bother to change our existing process to adapt to the data-driven process? So the second stage on the way is data aware. You are capturing data, but you are currently using it for awareness purpose. So if you go to your supervisor this time, your supervisor knows the idea of data-driven and probably think of doing that, but they haven't actually make it very concrete. A typical scenario of company in this stage is that they only want to use data when it was urgent. For example, when at the end of the quarter or at the end of the year, they have to collect some reports. At that time, they know they have to pull some data from somewhere and processing it using Excel. The third stage of data-driven is data critical. You are beginning to develop a sophisticated approach to using data as an asset, but only for mission critical areas. So the typical behaviors of this company in this stage is that they probably have a data department. The data department process the task from other departments. That's what is called mission critical areas. So the task thrown at the data center is irregular and basically reflect the urgent need of other departments. And the last and the final stage I want all of the company to be is at data-driven part. We have mentioned about this concept many times. Your organization is thinking data first. Your systems, processes, and people are working together to use data efficiently and effectively. So what is the difference between data critical and data driven? A company is in the data critical phase or in the data driven phase. There are 2 features that I found that are very good to distinguish those. The first feature is to look at your daily work routine of the data center. Do your data center handle lots of ad hoc tasks, or if your data center have a routine? Basically, they refresh some data or generate some report on a very stable basis. And the second feature is ask any non-data specialist, for example, a sales manager. Ask him, does he know that what data generated by the sales department and what data can be used at his own purpose to increase his performance, to make better strategy for his own department. So if you are in the data critical phase or in the data driven phase, you must have heard some of this job posting before, like data scientists, data analysts, data engineers, machine learning engineer, business analyst, product analyst, so on and on. So lastly, because we are talking about data driven, I try to be quantifying everything in the insights I bring. At the distribution of the companies in regards to their current data maturity level. So you see that most of the company right now are in the data critical phase because of the idea of data-driven actually is very popular. But seldom could this company become really data-driven. So in the last decade, a lot of companies become data critical because due to the upgrade in the infrastructure, it's becoming easier to collect more data, and people realize the importance of using the data um, because of the results. They really benefit from using the data. But what I observe is that most companies are stuck in the data critical phase and could not go on to the data driven phase. And the difficulty actually comes from two areas. The first area is the technical debt. In order to migrate from old system to new system, this involves a lot of budget planning and convincing different departments. And the second area of difficulty is that the education of non-data professionals. I think in the end, the data-driven ideology will become as widespread as the Microsoft 365 softwares. This means that it will become a basic skill in the future. You will not be surprised to see that in any kind of job posting, it is listed that it's a required skill set. So after figuring out which phase you are at for your own company, let's look at how I actually see the world of business. So in my eyes, a human is a data point. A company is a union. This is a union symbol. The union of humans and a union of resources that is equals to a data set. So a business case is a union of company interacting with each other. So it's the idea of environment. I have observed in recent years a lot of business schools start to teach the data analytics. I think fundamentally we want the same result, we just approach them in different way. A data expert going to the university studying a data related major, they are learning the data set in pure numbers. A student going to the business school, on the contrary, they are also learning about different business cases, but they are learning it through descriptions. Both way works to a certain extent, but they only truly work if we combine these two paths together. So as a bonus, I want to mention some personal cases I learned not in any textbook or in any famous magazine. These cases are so extreme to a certain extent that they will not be inside of Harvard Business Reviews not in 100 years. So the first business case I learned about is that we know about this ChatGPT. So I learned a business model that they provide to revise the applicant's resume. But the so-called revision is that they take the resume and fit it into ChatGPT and asking for 100 euro per revision. So when I first heard of it, I thought, oh, is that even possible? Isn't that everybody nowadays know about ChatGPT? How can you just use the information gap to earn money? But in fact, the world is a lot more complicated than we thought. So similarly, another example is that there is this agency that help elderly people who don't know how to use internet to book flight tickets. So to look at whether this idea really works or not, we can collect data in the following area. How many people know how to use internet? Of the people knowing how to use internet, how many of them know about ChatGPT or knows about this Skyscanner, this flight booking website? And then we can also look at the age distribution because a certain age group tend to use internet less than the other age group. By collecting data in these following aspects, we can try to quantify how large this market is. To my surprise, it's actually a big market. So the next business case I know about is selling weight control pill in your Facebook group or in the WeChat group. When I said weight control pill, they are from not a known manufacturer. I think they only got the food certificate, not the medical certificate. And to avoid potential questions about the certificate of the product, they avoid placing this product in official websites like Amazon also. They only sell it through some transactions through PayPal. When I first heard of this idea, I think, why would anybody buy this weight control pill? So I can imagine this kind of product is not very safe, but there are still people buying it. Especially nowadays, when you Google weight control in YouTube, you'll find so many videos explaining the scientific concepts. It is very clear to me that there is no magic pills that can promise you to lose weight instantly. The science behind weight control is just to eat less and exercise more. So something like this is the pink sauce. If you haven't heard about pink sauce, please Google it. Basically, it also raises a lot of food safety concerns. So why do these business models work? What I see here is that you are selling something that can solve your customers' problems, but you sell it to your fans, right? So by selling the product to your fans, to your listeners, who follow you for quite a long time, there is existing trust between you and the final customers. And that's basically how it works. So another really absurd business model I heard about is that for Android users, you can download some apps from non-verified sources. So this app claims that it can clear your virus on your cell phone. So this app is targeted to the people who are not that good in using their phones. And when you open this Clear Virus app, you will be popped through a lot of ads. Every 10 seconds, there is a pop-up ads or displayed ads. In order to close it, and the close button of this ads are very, very small. There are some misclicks, and then when you misclick, you got redirected to another landing page that show you the ads for 60 seconds. So how they earn money is every time when you misclick it, the creator of the app gets some cents from the ad agency. So I think right now it no longer works because the safety check of this app. And the last business model I see a lot in YouTube is that people teaching you how to be rich. So it's not a secret. You can be rich by teaching people how to be rich. The reason I want to mention about this business case is that you can look at how good these courses sell versus the global economic trends. When the economic is getting bad, people become more and more desperate to get money. Because of the pain of not having enough money is so big, it basically outweighed their rationals in the end. That's why when the economic is going downwards, this course actually sells better. And the last but not the least is I'm going to look at the business model of the YouTubers. Don't get me wrong, a lot of YouTubers post video for the fun of it. But for a lot of big YouTubers, especially the full-time YouTuber, there does need to be a business model to support him continue posting good content. So I have summarized how YouTubers make money. These are the following common ways. So you have this YouTube partner program that if you have a solid subscriber base, by posting interesting content, you get quite substantial financial reward. Next, often you see this sponsorship and brands promotions. So a very famous example is just NordVPN. For some time last year, it's basically everywhere. Every channel I click, I see NordVPN is promoting their time-limited deals. And next is affiliate marketing. They have a personal link. By clicking this link, every time you buy something, you got the content creator, get a certain amount of money. And next is the really interesting one is people doing this to promote their own business. So the last two type of content creators are basically the same in my opinions. Some of them produce courses or workshops, and the other create some content marketing that are very specialized in the field. Essentially, the characteristic of this kind of channels is that they are not very interesting. Also, they are not that popular. For them, the number of subscribers doesn't really matter that much. They create these channels to build a consistent communication platform with their audience and also to build some trust. They don't realize on a big subscriber size, and they seldom do third-party advertisement because they are their own company. Their personal brand is their own company. For this type of content creators, they are not interested in promoting their videos to people who are not interested in buying the product. They will not deliberate make their video interesting for the purpose of growing the subscriber size. They do it to promote their business. Therefore, they are businessmen, businesswomen. They are not YouTubers. The technology of those content creators are really different from the ones I mentioned above. That's So right now you may be thinking, how do I monetize my own channel? That will be a question that you will know by the end of the series. So I mentioned about these weird business models to be inspirational to you. There are a lot of business models that are not listed in the textbook because they are so weird. They are so morally questionable. They use people's weakness mentally to fulfill their purpose. But nevertheless, I want you to know about this kind of business model do exist. And when we do this data analysis, sometimes we need to look at outliers. So these business models are mentioned before are outliers, but they indeed disclose the nature of business to you to a certain extent. I really like to tune some parameters into extremes. So in this extreme examples, you really see the nature of things a little bit. One of the last things in today's videos I'll try to prove to you is that what I come up right now and what I try to show you is nothing new. It is existing for a long time in the consulting world. It's called this framework they use to analyze specific problems. I Googled online for some frameworks that are very popular. So let's dive into one of them. As the title says, top 7 framework for your business problems. Why does the consultant like the framework so much? It's what they are doing and what I'm doing are fundamentally the same. We try to create our own system to explain the world, to explain the business world to be exact. But the problem inside consulting is that all of the consultants will tell you never rely on the framework. Use it as a skeleton for your conclusion, but never just copy pasting them or just use the framework solely to solve a problem. Why? Because their framework is not inclusive. It cannot explain every business activities. So let's be very concrete and look at one framework as example to show you why framework cannot be comprehensive in solving your business problem. So in this framework, the profit is explained by 2 components, the revenues and the cost. So revenue minus cost equals to profit. And in order to explain revenues, it was further broken down into 2 components, volume and price per unit. They do the same for cost, starting to segment it one layer down. The profitability framework is a good framework. That's why it was taught and used so many years. But the framework is the skeleton of your decision making. The data is the flesh. What I observe is that people can get a skeleton right, but they have problems attaching the flesh into the skeleton. So what exactly do I mean by that? So in my following videos, I'm going to show you what a typical revenue data look like. I'm going to show you how was the value, how was the volume on price per unit represented. I'm going to show you based on that data, what are the possible ways to analyzing your profitability and so on and on. Basically, I add flesh into the skeleton. People can get a framework right. When they go to the nasty detail of collecting data to support their decisions, they always mess some problems because the data set is big and to find some insights takes time. And with this knowledge, as mentioned shortly before, all of your employees in the company can be consultants themselves. And By doing this, you have these unique advantages that you know your business situation better than an outside consultant. But you are lacking the skill to some extent to actually analyze it. I'm going to show you inside every department how to use your department's specific data to do some data-driven decisions. That's, by the way, for most consultants, two skills are essential. One skill is data analytics skills, and the other is communication skills. So you see, I hope up to this point, I convince you to a certain level that what I proposed and what I mentioned previous is nothing new. It is doing the exact process as an outside consultant, but in a more data-driven and more data concrete way. Thanks for following up the series up to now. The next video will going to be the final video in the introduction part, I promise you. In the next video, we will go through the basic structure of a good company. We will look at the responsibility of different departments and their individual data decision-making opportunities. If you have a concrete business problem and you already got some information or inspirations from my previous videos, please schedule a one-to-one free call with me so that we can discuss more in details. And again, so please like and subscribe my channel so that you can get the notifications once I upload new contents. And again, we'll see each other next time. Bye bye.